Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, June 3rd, 2018. This is episode 1494. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/techguy. And by LastPass. Join over 13 million LastPass users and start managing and securing your passwords today. Learn more at lastpass.com/twit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches. Augmented reality, you know, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, well, you can still call. You just have to use Skype or something like that. Skype out. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Tomorrow, June 4th. Can you believe we're in June already? How did that happen? June 4th. Will be Apple's keynote address at the Worldwide Developers Conference. They do this every year. Last year at WWDC 2017, they announced some really nice stuff. The new 10.5-inch iPad Pro. They announced new MacBooks. They announced the HomePod. It was a year ago last year they announced the HomePod. And AirPlay 2. The HomePod came out a couple of months ago. AirPlay 2 just came out this week. Sometimes, this is a good thing to remember when you watch these keynotes, is that they announce stuff before it's available. Let's see. They announced, they talked about iOS 11 for the first time, and Messages in iCloud. That only came last week as well, a year later. They introduced the iMac Pro. That's pretty cool. This year, well, we'll see. We've been hoping that they might announce new laptops. They're kind of due. Kind of, sort of, really due. Plus, Apple's been getting a lot of heat on its Macintosh laptops for those terrible keyboards. Terrible keyboards they put on there. And I'll vouch for that. I stopped by them. I actually had... I had a 2016 13-inch with touchpad. Maybe it was 27. No, I think it was 2016. That new touch bar. Hated the touch bar. Traded that in for a 13-inch without touch bar. Still hated the keyboard. Traded that in for a 2015. The last great MacBook. It had connectors. It didn't have a touch bar, which is dopey in my opinion. And it had a real nice keyboard with keys you'd push and they'd go all the way down. And Apple actually is facing a couple of class action lawsuits over the keyboard, mostly that they knew that the keyboards would have a higher failure rate than normal and still put them out. That's what people are upset about. Because it's an expensive repair if you don't have Apple Care. It's $700 repair. And it's easy to get. You know, everybody gets crumbs in their keyboard. Who doesn't? But that keyboard, you get crumbs in there, ooh, $700 later, you got a working keyboard. So here's the rumor. This is only rumor. Remember, we don't know anything of what Apple's going to do until they do it. In fact, Apple may not even be sure what they're going to do until they do it. There have been cases where, you know, a day or two before the event, they've scotched a product that they were ready to release. Microsoft did this too, with a Surface, that little Surface RT that Satya Nadella, their new CEO, decided at the last minute, now forget it, we're not going to release it. They were stuck with a warehouse full of them. Will Apple release new hardware then tomorrow? So this is the rumor, and the rumor comes from somebody who usually is exactly right. In fact, I can't remember the last time Mark Gurman of Bloomberg Prior to that 9 to 5 Mac, I can't remember a time he was been wrong in ages. He says, don't get your hopes up. No new hardware tomorrow. So if you've been waiting, and I've been telling people, wait, don't buy a Mac. You never want to buy a Mac the month or two before WWDC because, Apple could release something new. So there you go. Don't get your hopes up. And I credit that, and I'll tell you why. When you see a rumor like that this close, from a reliable source, this close to the event, usually that's accurate for two reasons. One, we're so close to the event, the tips he gets, and he's got good inside information, so good that Apple actually released a memo aimed at him saying, don't leak. They didn't name him, but it was clear who they meant. Don't leak. The other reason I think it's credible is because Apple themselves probably would like to get the word out. They don't want people tomorrow focusing on the fact that they didn't release hardware. And that's, they want people focusing on whatever it is they announce tomorrow and how great and exciting that is, except that there's no way people aren't going to be disappointed if they don't release new hardware. There's just no way. We are going to see a new Samsung Note. I know a lot of you like the Note. I love the Note. I bought the Note 1 when it came out. The Note 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turned in the 7 when it became exploding. They skipped the 8, so did I. Or no, I have an 8. I have an 8. And I'm waiting for see what they do with the 9. According to good rumors, August 9th, we're going to see the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Okay, good news. I tell you these things. I don't like rumors, but I tell you these things because if you know ahead of time, well, it's likely there's going to be new hardware on this date or there won't be hardware on this date. You can time your buying decisions. I think that's very helpful, isn't it? If you've been in the market for a new Samsung phone, a new Android device, you like Samsung, maybe you love the Note, now you know. Don't get the Note 8. The Note 9 will be coming out in a couple of months. So that's why I tell you that stuff. That's why I say that. What else? What else? Google's rumors about the Google Pixel, of course. That would be great. Pixel 3, but that won't be till September or October. So you don't have to worry about that. You got a question, a comment? You got a tip? I'll take tips. A rumor? 8888 Ask Leo is my number. I'd love to hear from you. 888-827-5536. It's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can use a VoIP or some other solution and give us a ring. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a tip, a comment, a suggestion, something that's coming up that you're excited about, something you'd like to know more about, and maybe you're one of those people who's decided, oh, well, I was waiting for a new MacBook. Now what should I do? I can give you some advice there, too, because I'm in that boat. I was saving my pennies, had my money all saved up, was all excited, and now I have to decide. Actually, there's some interesting hardware. Intel just announced a new set of laptop processors with 6 cores. Intel's been stuck because they couldn't make their processors faster. Turned out they were hitting a physical wall. They were overheating. They were getting too hot. So 4 gigahertz is pretty much the limit they've been able to achieve in processors. So instead of making them faster, they're putting more processors in the same chip. So you've seen dual core, quad core. That iMac Pro that Apple announced a year ago, that had anywhere from 8 cores to 16. I think they made a 16. I have a 10 core. 10! And apparently Intel's about to, well, they didn't apparently know apparently about it. They announced they are shipping now a 6-core laptop processor, the i9. There's also an i7 with 6 cores. And that goes along with their new Optane system, which gets better bandwidth, better speed out of the RAM. All this good news. And it would mean, in my mind, it'd be great for Apple to release a laptop with these new technologies. And maybe they want to. They're never the first off the block. Dell and others have already announced, Alienware, that they're going to do laptops with this Optane system and the i9 processor. But no word from Apple. We'll just have to wait. So I can tell you what you should look at. 8888 Ask Leo. I'll help you sell. I'll help you buy. I'll help you abuse your equipment. Let's talk high tech in just a second. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's coming up next. Hang in there. This is not a Nokia communicator. This is a weird nostalgia play from a company called Planet Computers. It's called the Gemini. And it's basically a duplicate of a computer that was pretty popular 30 years ago. The Scion 5. I had a Scion 3, which I loved. It's about this size, glasses case, had a keyboard, had its own proprietary interface. This is updated. You've got a Type-C charging, which is great. There's a headphone jack. Microphones on both sides that are smart enough to sense which side is up and to use that microphone. Speakers left and right. Another Type-C for data, on-off switch, I guess that's what that is here. It's Android. Here, let me unlock it here. Oops. Let me unlock it with the right pin. It's Android, and so pretty wild, huh? Nice screen. I put an AT&T SIM in it. You can see we have voice over LTE working, 4G. I'm on Wi-Fi though right now. It's got dual SIM slots. Pretty impressed. It's got its own little dock here. So you can quickly, this is what the Scion had. Desktop. Chrome. It's pretty cool. SSH comes with the Juice SSH. I'm impressed. I haven't fully set it up yet. I just put the SIM in. And it's $6.99, so it could be a phone, but it also is like a real computer too. And it's got speakerphone capability. What does this do? Whoa. Let's see. What time is the Warriors game tonight?
The Warriors will play the Cavaliers today at 5 p.m. at Oracle Arena.
Yeah. Can make a phone call. It's cool. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Here she is, the funky lady. What do you want to be called? What's your nickname? What do you?
I think we've gone over this a bunch of times and haven't come up with anything creative.
I gotta get your right name here. Where is it? There it is. There it is. Kim Schaffer.
Oh,
no,
that's not me.
That's not you. There it is. Kim Schaffer taking your calls. Hello, Kim.
Good morning.
You are working on getting some calls for us. It was a little slow at first. I don't know. Did I do something wrong?
No, I think we're all just a little slow and foggy on a Sunday morning.
Is it the holiday? Yes, Sunday.
There's no holiday.
People are in church. Well, who should I start with then?
Well, how about Matt in Placentia with a question that anybody who has to deal with aging parents or grandparents.
Yeah. That comes up a lot these days.
Yes, it does.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, Matt. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. So my grandmother's 92. She has dementia, and she has the habit of trying to leave the house in the middle of the night.
Oh, dear.
And she's done it a couple times. And, you know, for a 92-year-old woman who weighs under 100 pounds, she gets around. And so, yeah, she's feisty. But we're wondering, could you recommend something possibly other than a traditional alarm system that would let us know when she's opened the door?
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I mean, I thought you were going to ask for a GPS tracker because they make those as well.
Oh.
Yeah. And then that way, even if, you know, once she's opened the door, you have to run over and find her. But if she's on a GPS, then you just go to where she is. You say,
the GPS might be a good idea.
Yeah. There are a lot of these. Medic Alert makes one. They partnered with the Alzheimer's Society. They have something called the Safely Home program. It's for people with dementia. And actually, that's a complete setup. But there are a number of bracelets and watches and so forth. The problem is sometimes she might want to take it off.
Yeah.
And that's so there are watches, a lot of companies that make watches for elders particularly. Something like this GPS Smart Soul. It's in a shoe. That might be a little less like, she's got to put her shoes on before she leaves. But it's a little insole that goes on her shoe, so she wouldn't even be aware of it probably.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, huh? And then certainly there are many ways you can monitor the door. That's an easy thing to do. We have, one of our sponsors, Ring, makes a video doorbell. They're owned by Amazon now. That when there's motion at the front door of any kind, it sets off an alert on your phone and you can check the video immediately. And that's what I would recommend. You don't want just a sensor, because when she opens the door, gets the paper and closes it again. What you want to do is look and see, and if she's heading out, right? So you want a camera in addition to just a door opening sensor. The doorbell has another advantage. When the doorbell rings, you can answer it. So you can monitor people coming and going at her house. But it doesn't have to just be a press of the doorbell. Any motion will trigger it and set off an alert on your phone. There are a number of companies that make these, include Nest makes one as well, but the one I use at home is the Ring, and I really like it.
I think I'll look into the Rings. I mean, we have the doorbells. They're lit up, so I think they have power going to them. So
yeah,
we wouldn't have to worry about batteries. And
it works off any wired doorbell, and it actually has battery built in. They have two varieties. There's one with a battery built in that you charge once a year. But it's if you have a regular any kind of doorbell that rings a chime in the house, it's got power already, and it would just go right on that. Lights up the same way. Has a camera. Works at night. I think that would be a great way. That way, if she walks out the front door, and you can put one on the back door too, for that matter. In fact, they have ones that don't have doorbells. You don't need a doorbell on your back door, but have lights that come on and cameras. They call that their what do they call that? Anyway, if you go to ring.com, you can look at it. But that would tell you then, you'd get an alert saying somebody's moving at the front door, and you could actually immediately look at the video and say, "Up there she goes."
Okay.
Going up the street.
That sounds.
You're a good boy. You're a good son, taking care of her. This is why eventually I think people eventually look for assisted care, because it just you can't. There's only so much you can do after a while. But she likes living in her house. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's nice to talk to you. I hope that works out for you. There's a lot of solutions these days for this kind of thing, because we baby boomers are hitting those ages, aren't we? Ted in El Paso, Texas. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Ted.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, it's hot out here.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Not in Petaluma.
Oh, El Paso.
I'm an ex-Californian.
It just sounds hot.
Getting used to 103-degree heat is
yikes.
A little different.
Yikes.
I have a 2-terabyte Toshiba hard drive that I purchased about a year ago. Now I have a second one, which is a lot older, which is a Western Digital My Passport.
Yeah.
That one's working like a charm.
Yeah.
The Toshiba, all it does, the blue light goes on like, yes, I'm on. My laptop recognizes it, but it doesn't show up, and I can't download anything.
Yeah. So you have to understand how an external drive works. It's a USB interface. So the case that the drive is in, the drive is a normal everyday drive. If you opened up the case, you'd just see a standard drive, probably a Toshiba drive.
That's the key problem. The thing is totally encased. There's nothing. All it is the port to go into the to hook it up to the laptop, to hook it up to my USB 3.
Well, in all likelihood, the problem isn't the USB anyway, because it's still showing up, right? So the circuitry that's around, the case that's around that hard drive provides the USB interface. The drive connects, has a connector, gives it power, and it gets data off of it into that box, and then the box has circuitry that turns it into USB so that you can see it. And it sounds like that part is working. It's the drive itself that is damaged or not working. There's a way to get it out. I've never seen an enclosure that didn't have screws. Sometimes they're hidden. Sometimes you have to pry it open. It is broken at this point, so you might as well pry it open. But there's a drive in there. How big a enclosure is it? Is it pretty big or is it small?
It's a standard small one that's not more than a palm size.
Okay,
like
it's palm size. Yeah, so probably it has a 2.5-inch laptop drive inside of there.
Oh, okay.
And and it may be sometimes when they're that small, they really want to make it small, and so they don't provide a lot of ways to open it up. Here's a C-gate I'm looking at. Yeah, this you'd have to pry it open, I think. So first thing I do is go to ifixit.com. This is a site where they show you how to fix stuff like that. And they also sell tools. You probably need a thing that you wedge in to separate the case. And it may be glued together. But what are you going to do when you open it up? Well, now you have a non-functioning hard drive. I mean, there are some tools you can run on it. You might have better luck running them directly than through the USB interface, which hides a lot of the low-level circuitry. But you've got the problem of a non-working hard drive right there. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's going to be kind of, getting it out of the case is only the first step to a much larger process. How important? You don't have backups of that data
on it too.
You do. Okay. Well, this is why we make backups. Hard drives die.
The two were. This was my backup. I was putting because I have a Lenovo, and I had set up the backup to this to the Toshiba, and
good news. Well, you have all the pictures on the Lenovo then.
Yes.
Oh, so you're not losing any data.
I did not. Well, I have Lightroom that has all the information on the Toshiba. So to access the Lightroom, I have to get into the Toshiba.
Where are the originals?
The originals are inside the Toshiba.
They are not on the
inside.
Then they're not on the computer. They're not on the Lenovo.
No.
Well, then you don't have. Then, my friend, you do not have a backup. You have. See, backup implies 2 copies.
Yeah.
That's really important. People do this all the time. I got a backup drive, copy everything onto it, then delete the originals. Well, you don't have a backup. You have 1 copy on a drive. A backup implies, very important. And I'm not making an example of you. Well, I am making an example of you, not to hurt your feelings, but just so that people listening who are doing exactly the same thing realize, oh yeah, that's not a backup. That's the originals. That's all I have. And if that drive dies, you're out of luck. Now you have a really big challenge because, the good news is Lightroom has if it did any renders of it, you might have JPEG renders depending on the settings of some decent quality.
I do it to DNG and
no, but the DNG is on the external. But in order for you to look at it in Lightroom, it does some JPEG rendering. So you might be able. They're thumbnails though; they're not as good as the originals. You at least have those. You might want to recover those while you can. The originals though are on that drive, and it depends what happened to that drive. But it's probably something. So there's 2 kinds of errors. There's hardware errors. And there's soft errors. If it's a soft error, the data may still be there. And so you're right. The first thing you want to do is try to get that drive out of the enclosure, make sure it's not the enclosure, and see if you can mount that drive somewhere else.
Here's the thing. I plug it in. The blue light goes on, blinks, blinks, blinks. And then I go to try to access it, and bammo, nothing shows up.
Yeah. So you mentioned that. That's not.
Right now I got a paperweight.
Yeah, that's not positive. It could be the interface. Usually that sounds like the drive is broken, not the interface. But the first thing to do is get the drive out of the case. You probably need some professional help. And I got bad news for you. If it's a hardware failure, it's going to be thousands of dollars to get this data off.
That's what yes. I had talked to somebody who knew about this, and he said, yeah, about $900.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
So the company I recommend is called Drive Savers. They're up here in Northern California. But you can look around. Drive Savers is the name brand. There may be somebody there around that does it for less. But the reason it's so expensive is, let's say, it depends what went wrong. Let's say the bearings failed in that drive. That would be that's something that happens all the time, right? Bearings, heats and bearings freeze up. Well, they have to take the drive apart, and by the way, they have to do it in clean room conditions because you can't get any dust in there. So they have to take the drive apart in clean room conditions, replace the bearings, which means they have to have bearings for that particular drive exactly on hand, and then reassemble it. That's why it costs lots of money. It's a very, very elaborate process. It could just be software. I'd call Drive Savers and talk to them. It could just be a software failure, but you don't know, and you can't tell till you can get it out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I got to run, but I appreciate the call. Hey, Johnny Jet. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. He been everywhere. Johnny Jet's our traveling guru. Normally he's on a Saturday, but he's traveled to a Sunday. You went to Connecticut to visit Dad. I know that.
No.
No. I saw the Instagram.
Dad, but last week I was in Connecticut, drove to your home state.
Oh.
Of Rhode Island, went to the Ocean House.
I saw the Ocean House, yes.
Which was off the hook.
Lovely.
And then I drove to Newport for lunch.
Nice.
Went to the Black Pearl, and then went to Boston. Stayed at the Taj Hotel, which was a big disappointment.
Oh.
And jumped on a plane, and I'm here. You want to guess where I am?
You're in a hotel.
I'll give you a better view.
Let's look out the window. Oh, palm trees, beach. Let's see. You're in the tropics. Are you in Hawaii?
No, I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Very nice.
So that's where my dad is, around the corner near here. So I came
down. That's why I forgot. Your dad's not in Connecticut. He's in Florida.
Grew up in Connecticut. Yeah. He's now in.
Because I saw the beautiful picture of him and your son, his grandson. It was so cute. And
he had a little setback, but he's doing much better. He said that our visit really helped, and so it's great to be here. And the caller before, a couple callers before, was talking about how his grandmother has dementia. Fortunately, my dad does not. But here in Florida, they have signs instead of amber alerts, they call them silver alerts when you're on the freeway. Almost every time you get on the freeway, you see silver alert, looking for this license plate number.
Oh, it's so common that these elderly folks drive off.
Yeah, and so anyway, I just thought that.
I know I'm going to be one of those. I know.
Let's hope not. Let's hope none of us. Let's hopefully by then they'll find the
maybe they'll find a cure. My mom and dad are in their mid-80s and sharp as a tack. So I don't know if it's genetic though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, anyway, my dad's pretty sharp. So.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, and he's 89.
Nice. Johnny joins us every week. He shares some travel tips, help you use technology to travel better. He's a king of travel, I tell you. He's everywhere.
So one of the questions people always ask me is, how do I find cheap flights? And so I really tell them, you just have to search everywhere. So some of the websites that I tell people to sign up to, some of the newsletters, are Scott's Free Flights, The Flight Deal. And here's one I've never mentioned before on the show. It's called flyforfree.com. And actually, you really want to follow them on Twitter. Even if you, and it's fly, the number 4, free.com is their Twitter handle. So, and it's a European site, but if you go to their website, you can click the USA tab and you'll see some deals. And but the Twitter feed, they update that often. So you got to just search around.
So like the Twitter feed will say, fly to Budapest for $59, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you click the USA tab at the top. I don't know if you did that. I can't see on my screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what you're going to want, and then they'll tell you. And it has good deals. I mean, it's not the one site that you just want to go all the time, but it's one that you should keep in your back pocket. And again, to find the cheapest deals, there's all kinds of tips and tricks. And actually, I wrote an article which I'll tweet out called 17 Ways to Find Cheap Flights. And one way, if you're going to Europe this summer. So I always use an example. Actually, I spoke in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and I used this as an example. You put in San Francisco to Sardinia, Olbia, Olbia, and it's like $3,000. But if you put in San Francisco to London, that round trip would be $700. And then you buy a round trip from London to Olbia, and that's like $200 on a low fare carrier. So my point is, don't always put in where you're going. Try and break up your trips like in 2 different separate round trip tickets, but you got to leave plenty of time in between. And you got to make sure that if you're flying a low cost carrier like a lot in London, they're going out of different airports. So you got to leave at least a day in between because you don't want to miss that, and you got to pack light. Otherwise, they'll get you big time on your heavy bags.
Oh boy, yeah.
But this is a way to really save money. So if you're just going to London, that's fine. But if you're going to these secondary cities or third cities, whatever you want to call them, this is a way to get around those really high prices.
Brad Templeton used Google Flight Search to show this exact thing that you're talking about. There are, if you do these searches, just some cities that are cheaper than other cities. If you want to fly to Venice, it's $9,750 business class, but Milan is only $2,809. So it would be a good idea to fly to Milan and then drive or take a train or even a short flight to Venice. You'd save $7,000.
And you know why it's Milan is because Emirates does that route, and they really brought down the prices. So if you're going to Italy, always look at Milan. And to take the train, you can take the high-speed train to Rome, I think is an hour and a half.
So you'd save, Rome is $8,500 round trip. Milan's only $2,800.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. Budapest, for some reason, is a lot cheaper than Vienna, which is just down the road. So that's
exactly.
Is there a way to find those cities, or you just have to search?
Well, again, you go to Google Maps and you put in the destination, or you put in your departure city, and then you can choose. They have the new map system. I have to go look at it.
Here's what Brad said to do. Instead, so say you're going from San Francisco, or let's say San Francisco to France. Instead of writing Paris in, you write in Europe.
Okay,
all of Europe. Look at this, and then you get a map that gives you all the different destinations in Europe and their round trip prices.
Yes,
and see,
Kayak has a similar
useful.
map.
That is a really great tip for Google Flights. Will do that.
It is, and so then you find that one cheap city, and then you buy a separate ticket. But again, you have to make sure you leave plenty of time in between the flights. Don't try and cut it short. I always recommend spending a night in that city, and you're still going to save a lot of money, and you're getting you'll get two trips out of one.
In some ways, this is a demonstration of how great Google Flights has gotten. It really is a useful tool.
They are. It's almost scary how good Google is getting in so many different
things. Everything, aren't they?
Soon I'm going to be out of business. Everyone's going to.
You'll never be out of business. Somebody's going to point us to the right places. Do you have an app for us before we run out of time?
I do. So, people who have allergies, check out Allergy Food Translator. So the website is allergyft.com. So if you're traveling overseas, you can set up profiles for your family members, and you can tell them what allergies you have. And they're, the big 8 allergies are milk, peanuts, wheat, eggs, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, and soy. But there's actually 86 possible food allergies. And this app will translate them into French, German, and Spanish. I guess you could use Google Translate. Now we're talking about Google.
Yeah, but this is good because you want to really get the names that really could be problematic. Right. This is good.
And you don't need the internet to access it once you're over there or wherever you are. And there was actually they're saying they're working on more languages as they do, but this was recommended to me by somebody.
Nice.
So, fortunately, I do not have
FT, the food allergy app. A couple of great tips from Johnny Jet in beautiful Fort Lauderdale. The weather looked pretty nice? You going down to the beach, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to go take Jack for a swim when he wakes up from his nap, and then we're gonna move on to our next destination,
which he won't tell us because that's just the kind of guy he is. You gotta follow
me on Instagram, Twitter, or
I'm gonna say something that you won't say because there's another great way to get deals, and that's to subscribe to Johnny Jet's Deals newsletter, which is free. And Johnny's doing all the research all the time, so you can stay up to date on that. That's on the website, JohnnyJet.com. Johnny has great newsletters. He's got the daily travel tip, the travel deals newsletters, and they're free. I don't know why they're free, but they are. Johnny, have safe travels, as I always say. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you. Have some fun time with your son and your wife, and enjoy the beach. And
Thank you very much.
Next week, Johnny Jet. JohnnyJet.com on Instagram, @JohnnyJet on the Twitter, @JohnnyJet. He's got some great lists on his Twitter feed, too. Follow him there. And, of course, the website, JohnnyJet.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. And line 3, Patrick in Lafayette, Louisiana. Hello, Patrick.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm great. Welcome.
Great. It's been a while since I talked to you.
Well, nice to talk to you.
Had a couple of things. Moto Z3. Have you heard anything on the Moto Z3 being released like any day now?
No, I don't know when the release date is for it. I'm a Moto fan. I know a lot of people like them. This is, close because we've seen benchmark results for it on Geekbench. That usually means that somebody's got it and they're playing with it. According to the Geekbench results, it's a Snapdragon 660, 4 gigs of RAM. It's decently fast, but of course you buy a Z because of battery life. You buy it because you like the Motorola feel and fit. But I don't know when it's going to be out.
Yeah, it's a rugged phone, and this one's going to be waterproof.
Nice.
That's what I'm waiting on.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think you have long to wait, but I don't have any insight into it. This is going to be the top of the line Motorola for 2018.
Right. Right. Are you gonna get one of these? And
probably not. But Jason Howell, who does our Android show, might. He's been getting a lot more of the phones. I'm trying to cut back. I just have too many darn phones, and I know I like these Z Plays, and I know I'll be able to recommend them because they've been very, very good, and great battery life. Decent cameras. They're usually aggressively priced. They showed it at I think they showed it at CES. But they just no indication of when they're going to do it. Now, the only thing I'd be worried about with the Moto Z is that while the Motorola's for a long time have been designed by the folks in Chicago, where Motorola originally was, you remember that Motorola got purchased by Google and then sold off by Google to Lenovo. But all through that, the Motos, I think, maintained their quality because they were still being made by this small group in Chicago. That's not the case anymore. Lenovo's taken it back in-house and moved them to China. So,
only China.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say Lenovo did a good job with the IBM ThinkPad line. They have not messed that up too badly anyway. But I'm still waiting and watching it. And maybe I will get a Z3 just so I can take a look at the quality, see if they're keeping their standards.
Right.
But generally speaking, this has been a great phone. All 3 generations of the Z have been just fantastic. I really think they do a good job, and I would recommend it. Just don't know when it'll be. They don't tell me, and I haven't seen anything in the rumor mills. The only thing is that Geekbench. The Geekbench is a benchmark that people use to test the speed of their devices. And one of the things that happens when you use Geekbench, unless you take steps not to do this, is it uploads your benchmark results to the Geekbench site so everybody can compare. And what happens as a result is sometimes people trying new phones, maybe reviewers who have a phone early but are embargoed, that's probably the most likely case, you'll see those phones appear on Geekbench ahead of release. And that's happens, which means you're probably getting pretty close. Probably not far off. Line 4, Sam, Costa Mesa, California. You're next. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Leo. I've got a 3 to 4 year old Samsung 51-inch plasma TV. The other day, it stopped putting out a picture, but we were getting audio. So I'd go to YouTube and figure out that it's the main board. I can get this main board, a new one from a cracked screen new TV, for about $100. My question is, do I do that, or do I start looking at some of the LCD or LED TVs? I mean, at what point does the quality of those TVs match a plasma? Because, I mean, the parts on this thing are ridiculously cheap. These other boards, we're talking like $15 if another one of the boards go out.
Yeah. So, I've kept my Panasonic.
The other ones match.
I've kept my Panasonic Viera plasma, which is 5 or 6 years old, just because it is plasma, and nobody's making them anymore. So if you feel confident about the repair, You know what's wrong, and boy, $100 to replace it, and you feel like you can do that. I think it's worth a try. Absolutely.
Yeah, because wouldn't you have to get into like an what do they call them, LEOid TV to get that type of quality picture?
So the LCDs are getting better and better. That was for a long time. It was between plasmas and LCDs. And one of the reasons companies stopped making plasmas is nobody wanted them. The LCDs got better and better. They were brighter than the plasmas. They used less power than the plasmas. That was another reason is states like California were requiring companies to reduce power consumption, and plasmas are notoriously power hungry. So LCDs took over because they got good enough, they with things like a local area dimming, which makes the dynamic range higher, and that was one of the things that plasmas are so good. The blacks were so dark compared to the bright whites, but they can get closer with LCDs now. The speed of the screen responsiveness has improved considerably, so they can not quite match plasmas, but they're getting there. But you're right. When plasmas died, a new technology came along, this OLED, OLED, and it is more like a plasma. So the technology of an LCD the name kind of tells you, liquid crystal display. It's got a panel over light. There's the backlight, which could be LEDs, most commonly is now, but used to be fluorescence. The panel has for each pixel, a little shutter that opens and closes, actually 3 shutters, red, green, and blue, that open and close in order to let the light through. And that's how you see the light from an LCD. It's light in the background, white light in the background that is shining through shutters that are opening and closing to give you the picture.
Okay.
The way the plasma worked is you had cells, gas-filled cells, that were doing that. There were direct view. There was no leakage from backlight in the background or anything like that. They were actually emissive. And OLED is like that. Each dot, each pixel on an OLED screen is emissive. It emits its own light. So that's why you can get darker darks and brighter brights. And OLED really it's even better technology than plasma. It is right now by far the best screen technology out there. It's expensive, much like plasma was. Prices are dropping a lot. I'd say if you can get this, $100, it's worth a try. If you can get it working. If you can't, then you probably would want to look at an OLED. The OLEDs are better than that plasma, that's for sure. But are they that much better that it's worth, $5,000? I don't know. That you'd have to. Yeah. Actually, you can get some. Yeah. LG is now, and I love the LGs. That's the one I have. The LGs, I think, are now getting pretty aggressively priced down to maybe $2,000 or $3,000 if you look around.
Okay.
So,
all right, well, I appreciate the advice.
There's the kind of how it all works. I've never heard of anybody repairing a flat panel, but you figured it out. The older ones, I guess you can really get in there and switch the parts out. And if you get those parts, 65-inch LG at Costco, somebody's saying is $2,600. Is that OLED? All right, if it is, then the prices have dropped a lot, and that sounds pretty darn attractive. I love my OLED. When I want to enjoy a movie, you want to get a 4K HDR. That's another thing. Your screen is not 4K. There is nothing like it. That's the best looking picture you'll see. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, they really have dropped the prices. $1,300 for the 55. Well, that's pretty good. I didn't realize they'd gotten that inexpensive. Oh, I should mention our show today is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. Have I not mentioned that? I have not mentioned that. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans has reinvented the home loan process and the refi process, too. With Rocket Mortgage, you can do it all online, entirely online. See, Quicken Loans, the creators of Rocket Mortgage, realized the mortgage experience was just not keeping up with the times. It was pretty dated, right? Go to a bank, beg for money, get all dressed up, get a long application. No. You don't go to the attic and find paperwork. No. How about a way to get a home loan on your phone within, say, 10 minutes? Wouldn't that be nice? You just go to rocketmortgage.com/techguy, answer a few questions. You don't have to look up stuff or go to get paperwork out of the attic because they have relationships with all the financial institutions. As soon as you say, yeah, I give you permission, they can go out, they can get information that they need and crunch the numbers, and it's all computerized so they can do it fast based on income and assets and credit. They'll offer you the home loans you qualify for. You find the one that's just right for you. You choose the term, the rate, the down payment, and it's done. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. All you have to do is go to rocketmortgage.com/tech. I set it up before you go to the open house this afternoon. rocketmortgage.com/techguy. Then you'll be ready. You can apply, and before you leave, you'll have a loan. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. These guys really get it. rocketmortgage.com/tech. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater. Let's see. Digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches. Actually, our digital photography guru, Chris Marquardt, coming up in just a little bit. About half an hour from right now. Whoa. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, want to talk high tech.
I don't know how to help with that yet.
I'm sorry too. That's my little Google. My little Google speaking to me. 888. I don't know why. You ever notice that these smart things they just wake up at random? I was listening to a book the other day, and I listen on my Amazon Echo, and I have sitting next to the Echo one of those Apple HomePods because I had to test it. I'm not crazy about it, but I have one. I'm listening to a book on the Echo, and in the book, the reader says, "Seriously, what time is it?" And it's almost comedic because then my HomePod said, "It's 10:15." Apparently, it heard seriously and thought it was Siri. Hey, Siri. And then it heard, "What time is it?" That's how you understand now how those people, you heard that story a couple of weeks ago where the couple was having a conversation and somehow the Amazon Echo sent a copy of it to the guy's employee. You heard that whole thing. It was a series of highly unlikely coincidences. But you can see how that would happen. It happens to me all the time. A night doesn't go by. I'm watching TV in the living room and my Amazon Echo part of it is I have 3 devices. I have an Echo, a Google Home, and the HomePod. So I have Amazon listening, Google listening, and Apple listening. And a night doesn't go by where one of them just doesn't say, "What? I don't know. What? Huh? What?" It's nutty. Anyway, 8888 Ask Leo. I apologize for the interruption by Ms. Goog. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, still call. Just use Skype or something like that. It won't cost you anything because it's a toll-free number. Ann in Irvine is next. Hi, Ann. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. What a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.
I hope you can help me.
I hope so, too.
I have a 2014 SL550, and I had an LG flip phone, which worked perfectly in the car. Then I get an iPhone SE, Sam Edward, load up all the contacts. It works intermittently. I took it to the dealership. They were all over it, and he said, "We can't do any more. Just let the car warm up, wait till the phone icon goes white, and make your call." Well, all day yesterday, the phone was as white as could be, all filled in.
That's ridiculous.
And I had to dial on the iPhone, risking my life while driving. So can you help me?
Well, now, your SL, does it have CarPlay in it? No, it's older, so it probably doesn't.
No, it does have.
It does.
I was doodling around on it, and I pulled up the CarPlay thing, but the little icon circle kept circling, and that's as far as I got.
That's too bad.
So are you saying that it doesn't work? I just pulled it up again?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's not on you. First of all, Bluetooth is a nightmare.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things. And when that happens, and it happens in every car, although I have heard people complain that Mercedes sometimes have more problems than others with Apple iPhones. They shouldn't. I mean, the iPhone, in my estimation, in my experience, the iPhone works best because, if you're a car manufacturer selling a car in the U.S., you know that one half of your users will be using an iPhone. So you make sure that works. You know, Android's a little more fragmented, but you know that they're going to half of them are going to be using an iPhone. So my experience has been iPhones generally work better than Android devices.
When it works, it's wonderful when it does work.
Now, for the CarPlay to work, you know you have to connect the cable. Did you know that?
Where is the cable?
So that would, by the way, work better, in my opinion, than Bluetooth. So somewhere you have to. I don't know how this works, but you're going to have to. You can probably find a YouTube video on how to get it working, or go back to the dealer.
Okay.
But there'll be a USB port that you connect your Apple Lightning cable to, and then you plug it into your phone, and then CarPlay, because CarPlay needs the wire to see the phone. At that point, you're not going to be. I don't think you're going to be using Bluetooth for the phone calls, and that might work better.
Okay.
So that's the first thing to try. The other thing, if Bluetooth doesn't work, is just unpair the phone. You know, there's a button on the screen to forget the phone. Forget the phone and try again. That's what I do when I have Bluetooth problems, and they're not infrequent, by the way. Getting cars to pair with Bluetooth. Bluetooth in general is really a terrible protocol. But usually, if you forget the phone and repair it, it'll work. You know, do that a few times, and just hope it works best. Forget
the phone and repair it. Are those buttons on the console?
Yeah, you'll go into the Bluetooth settings on the screen, and where the phone shows up, and I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but you'll tap the phone, and there'll be a way to forget it, to delete the device from your list of paired phones. Did the dealer pair it for you? Is that why you?
I don't know what they did.
Somebody paired it.
Somebody did something to pair it. Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to have to learn how to pair a phone. You can bring it back to the dealer and say, dudes, you didn't help me. That was a terrible advice, by the way, that they gave you. Oh, just wait. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, it isn't.
It's not going to get. It doesn't magically. The car warms up and it gets better. That's terrible advice.
Right.
Tell Dieter, hey Dieter, I want you to unpair and repair this phone until it works, or ask him, how do I get CarPlay to work with it? Because you do need It's only really recently that CarPlay has been able to work wirelessly. On that 2-year-old SL550, I'm almost certain you require a cable. I'm surprised they didn't tell you that.
They did not. The magic of being able to talk to Leo.
Tell Dieter, hey Dieter, I want you to put the phone so it works with the CarPlay doohickey. And Dieter will fix that for you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Nice
Have
to talk to you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Ann. Everybody has trouble with this, and Bluetooth is just terrible. And we're now up to Bluetooth version 5. I guess it's getting better. It's a challenging environment. Maybe that's the reason. It's just hard to do, but it's invariably, my wife has a pair of AirPods, and Apple, acknowledging that Bluetooth is terrible, actually kind of put a special dedicated processor, the W1 processor, or is it the W3? As one of them, in the AirPods and in the phone, and it's supposed to make Bluetooth work better and all that, except it does and it doesn't. My AirPods, every once in a while, they just drop the call. Just stops, it switches back to the phone. Phone says, oh, no, I'll take it from here. And you have to, all of a sudden, you're in the middle of a call and it goes dead. And, fortunately, I know now, oh, no, it's not that I lost the call. It's just that the stupid unpaired headphones, and I have to go back into the call and say, no, go route it back through the AirPod. For some reason, on her right AirPod, it gets garbled. And I know what that is. When Bluetooth gets out of sync, it'll get garbled. Sometimes it'll sound too high-pitched or too low-pitched. It'll just garble. And you need to kind of reassociate it. And it just happens randomly once in a while. And the only fix that you can ever do is to start over. So, in the case of a car, forget that device. Delete that device. It depends what it calls it. Sometimes they say delete, sometimes forget. On a phone, it's usually forget. Unpair, basically. Say, I don't know anything about this iPhone thing, and then do it over. So in the Bluetooth menu, there'll be a way to forget or delete the iPhone SE, and then you say search for device, and on your SE, you go into the Bluetooth settings, and that'll automatically make it visible, because it's not normally visible to Bluetooth devices, and then the two should see each other, and you exchange numbers, and you shake hands, and everything should be okay. And if it doesn't, then do it again. And you just keep doing it till it works. This doesn't seem like a good strategy, but it's the only one I know. There's no other way, as far as I can tell, to make this thing work better. It's not a good system. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. Oconomowoc. Christian, am I saying it right? Oconomowoc, Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're saying it right.
Wow. I don't know where that came from in my brain, but I guess I figured it out. Hello, Christian. How are you?
Good. This is my first time on this podcast. I listen to a lot with my dad in long car rides. So
nice. Nice. Well, it's good to have you. Welcome. What's your dad's name?
Michael Seymour.
I don't need his last name, but good. That's not. Hi, Michael. So what can I do for you today?
Basically, well, before I get to this, I do want to say one thing. I was listening on the Bluetooth thing.
Yeah.
I do have a Bluetooth transmitter. I use it on my Nintendo Switch because if I want to use Bluetooth headphones on it, it actually works really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've lucked out. What headphones do you use?
I bought these Bluetooth headphones on this one Bluetooth earbud online that you could just listen to. I just random stuff on Amazon.
And it never drops out or anything, huh?
No, not really. It has a $12 battery.
I've just been unlucky, I guess.
Yeah.
So what can I do for you?
I basically recently bought a Apple Lightning, I think it's called. Yeah, Apple Lightning. And I've been using it for a while. It's been working well on Netflix and YouTube and stuff. But when I recently got to use it, it's not working on Hulu. I was wondering why.
An Apple Lightning? I don't know what that is. You mean an Apple TV?
Yeah, you hook it up to your Roku TV. You plug USB into the TV, and then you plug your phone into the
a cable that you plug in. Okay, now let me get this straight. So you have an iPhone.
Uh-huh.
And you take the iPhone, it has a lightning cable, and you got this cable from Apple?
Yeah, you can buy them at Best Buy, too.
Okay, but it says Apple on it, right? It's an Apple brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you take it, because only reason I say that is a lot of janky third-party lightning accessories that don't work very well. So you take it, and it has, what does it have, an HDMI port on the other end?
Yeah, it has an HDMI port, and it has
and then you cable the HDMI, and you're plugging it into, not your Roku, surely. You're plugging it into your TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're using the HDMI cable from an adapter, which is a Lightning to HDMI adapter, on your smartphone. Yeah. And when you play something, first of all, when you plug it in your TV, do you see the screen of your smartphone?
Yeah, that's what I find neat about it.
That's neat. I actually did not know about this this connection. That's cool. It's the Lightning Digital AV Adapter, they call it. You know what? I think I have one of these. Come to think of it, I should try this. So it outputs whatever it does. It does mirroring of whatever is displayed on your device's screen. So you're able to play anything on there and watch it on your big screen except Hulu.
Yeah, it's weird.
What happens when you try to play Hulu?
I will play, and then I will play the show without the sound. I mean, without the picture. Sorry.
It only plays the sound, not the picture.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that is copy protection.
Yeah, me too.
But Netflix works.
Yeah, Netflix, YouTube, pretty much anything else. I've only tried that, Destination America Go, and
I would expect YouTube too, because they're not going to put copy protection on YouTube. But other commercial entities like Netflix or Amazon Movies, they may have copy protection. But you're saying they work, that the only thing that doesn't work is Hulu.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here it is. Hulu does not support it. Yeah, I'm looking at Hulu's site right now, and they don't, and it's not exactly copy protection, but they don't they don't want to. So here's a possible workaround. Okay. If you use your finger to glide forward or reverse on the video, I'm seeing somebody say it works. 9 out of 10 times the video comes back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So try that. Try the scrubbing back and forth, and it gets around it. Now, the reason this doesn't work is Hulu doesn't currently support HDMI out or AirPlay on iOS. Now, they may update their app to do that, but that's what Hulu says. That's from the Hulu support site. But then I'm seeing people on the Apple site say, well, if you try scrubbing, maybe that'll work. Sometimes that works. It's the app. They decided, I don't know why, they don't want to do it. You can't AirPlay it either, which might have been the workaround, if you have an Apple TV on your TV, you can send anything from your iPhone to the Apple TV, not just the screen, but anything you're playing. But apparently Hulu doesn't support that either, including mirroring. Okay, and here's another guy. Now, this is from last year. Hello, I have the same setup. The answer is you can. Problem is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have no clue why that happens. What I found is when only the Hulu logo appears and you only get sound with no picture, then log out of Hulu completely, close the app completely, then log back in. Sometimes it takes 3 or more attempts of doing this, then it starts streaming. That's ridiculous. Hulu on their site says we don't support this, but apparently they support it and don't support it very well. Just a side effect of Hulu. Hulu is about to be acquired. 21st Century Fox is for sale. Disney has offered $62 billion. And then along comes Comcast, and they're going to offer more. Actually, I think Disney was offering $54 billion, and Comcast is going to offer $60 billion. $60 billion. They get the movie studio, but they also get, Comcast already has 30% interest in Hulu. Hulu was created by a bunch of different companies as a way to put broadcast television on the internet with ads. Yeah, but of course. But Comcast, if they were able to get this controlling interest in Fox, they would have another 30%, giving them 60% of Hulu. And at that point, I would expect big changes from Hulu. Because think about it. Comcast is a cable company. They don't want you watching on the internet. They want you paying for their expensive TV packages. So watch and see what happens. There's a little battle going on over Hulu right now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, guess who's here? Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. We'll talk to him in a moment. He's here. He's here. I'm so excited. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. He's the host of the Amazing Tips from the Top Floor podcast and other podcasts, too. He's also a professional photographer who does amazing work and leads fantastic workshops all around the year, all around the world at discoverthetopfloor.com. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
Did you say you were working? No, Monica's working on a new book. Are you working on a new book?
I'm working on a new book as well. So we're all writing, and I've just finished handing in the manuscript for the second edition of the film photography book, the German version. I hope that will translate into the English one as well. So keeping busy. Yeah.
You sent me a copy of the film book, and it's called the Film Photography Handbook, right?
It is, yeah.
Rediscovering photography in 35mm medium and large format. And it has it's a beautiful book. It's full of beautiful images. You did such a nice job with it. And I hope everybody gets a copy. I think you're selling it on the website, right? Discover the Top Floor?
It's on Amazon. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, yeah.
You find books, yeah, sure.
$27 on Amazon. So is there any tilt-shift photography in this book?
It's in the wide-angle book that is just finished with the translation. It should probably be out in August in the US. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. It's a topic that is probably not going to be too relevant for most listeners, but I still think it is something that is interesting and that people might just enjoy learning a bit more about. Tilt shift. Most people, when they hear the word tilt shift, will probably think of the miniature effect, the thing where you have regular sized things and make them look smaller. And that is one thing you can do with a tilt shift lens, but there's so much more. I would say a tilt shift lens is probably 5, 6, 7, 8 different lenses in one. It has a lot of different things it can do.
So I always like it because it looks like things are toys.
Yeah, that's
right?
one effect you can
Yeah.
you can pull off with that. But
Yeah.
there are let me pick out 5 other things that you can do with a tilt shift lens.
Okay.
Now, first of all, tilt shift lenses are amazingly sharp lenses. They're prime lenses, so they're not zoom lenses, and they are among the sharpest lenses you can get. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and that's very important, they are often used for perspective correction. So
that's where they came from, right? Is taking pictures of tall buildings from the ground floor, and it looks like the building is looming over you, but you can tilt the lens a little bit. The old view cameras could do this and make the perspective normal.
That's where it comes from view cameras, from large format cameras, the ones with the bellows. And then the third thing is you can put emphasis on parts of the frame in a very easy way. Again, architecture photographers like that. Landscape photographers like that, product photographers like that, and you can mess with the depth of field. Now let's start with that shift part, because tilt shift lens is 2 different kinds of lenses: the tilt part and the shift part. And the shift part is, I'd say, the most used one. When I use a shift lens, or tilt shift lens, I use shift maybe 90% of the time and tilt maybe 10% of the time. And one thing that this enables is, okay, let me give you an example. You're standing in front of a building and you cannot get that building in the frame because it's too high up.
Right.
So what are you going to do? You tilt the camera backwards, right?
Yeah.
And what happens when you tilt the camera backwards? You get converging lines. You get lines that converge towards a vanishing point at the top, right? In order to avoid that, the shift part of the lens is the one that photographers will use, because you can pretty much shift that building up and down and around without having to tilt the camera. So you keep the camera straight on a tripod. If you've practiced a lot, you can do this handheld, and then you shift the building up and down without tilting the camera, and that keeps the lines parallel. That keeps the vertical lines from converging, and that looks just so much more tidy in photos.
So that doesn't look weird. It just looks like you got a perfect picture. Okay.
That's what professionals do, and in architecture magazines you will see that kind of a photography. It's also again, the depth of field. That's another thing that you can do with a tilt part. Imagine you want to take a landscape photo. Now, landscape photographers often want everything in focus from the very front to the very back. Like you might have a classic landscape composition. There's a big boulder in the foreground, something interesting, and then there's something in the middle ground, something in the background. And a landscape photographer would try to keep all that in focus. But you know what photographers have to do with you. If you have a DSLR and a big lens and a big sensor, you'll have to use a very small aperture to get all of that in focus. Well, with a tilt lens, you can kind of get around that. So you will be able to shoot with a wider open lens, shorter shutter speeds, and still have everything in focus from the front to the back. Again, this is super highly specialized. This is something that most listeners will probably never get their hands on, but these things also have a nice trick up their sleeves. The shift lens can make your camera disappear in a mirror. So
wait a minute. You can take a selfie without a camera in it?
Sort of. What kind of? Interior photographers, real estate photographers have that problem often. They are in a room. They want to take a nice interior picture, and there's a mirror, and the camera is in the mirror. So what you can do is you can pretty much take that camera to the side of the mirror and shift it back so that it looks like you're in front of the mirror, but the camera is not there.
So does that reduce the field of view of the camera? It must, right? Like
it's
so it's like a 50 millimeter, then it turns into a 40 millimeter because of the tilting, kind of.
Sort of, and this is like a 3-day workshop. I'm trying to compress into 5 minutes here. Now,
before we get too long down this road, though, how much is a tilt shift lens?
That's what I was just about to get to. They're expensive.
Yeah.
They start at $700. Rokinon has one that starts around $700. But if you go to Canon or Nikon, you'll probably you'll probably have to pay $2,000 or more.
Yikes!
For these lenses. So that's an item that I love to buy used, and it also takes a lot of practice.
I bet there's a lot of used tilt shift lenses out there for people who, like me, who thought it would be a good idea to get one.
So don't go buy one. It takes a lot of practice. It's not something you buy and all of a sudden it's all magical. But this is what landscape photographers use, architectural photographers use.
So I had a lens baby. That was cheap. That's not a tilt shift lens.
Not really. It tries to be, but it's not really anywhere. You can get an adapter and put a lens, a regular lens on your camera, and have a tilt shift adapter in between. That is probably closer to what a tilt shift does than what the lens baby does. I love the lens baby, but it's not a tilt shift lens.
If you want to know more, of course, Chris does workshops, but he also has this great book. It's available on Amazon, Wide Angle Photography, that includes tilt shift as well as. I've got to get. You know what? I'm getting this book. That sounds like a perfect book for me. And then I'll think about it's a little less expensive than a tilt shift lens. Then I'll think about maybe rent one before you buy.
It's a good primer. It's definitely a good primer.
Chris is awesome. His workshops are available at Discover the Top Floor. His images are also there. You can see great pictures from all over the world, including iced up boats in Svalbard and happy people in Bhutan. And, of course, he joins us each week to talk about photography. We are taking pictures of feet.
No, hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did feet. We're doing hand.
Feet is over. We're at hands now, yes.
Hand is our topic for our photo, not competition, assignment. Go out and take pictures illustrating the word or concept hand. Upload them to the Tech Guy group on Flickr. In a few weeks, we'll be reviewing. And we'll talk to you next week, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so close to buying a tilt shift lens.
Don't.
Wouldn't that be? I love but see, I just like the little baby toy picture. You can kind of do that with filters in Photoshop, really.
Oh, you can fake it, and it's actually quite decent. You can fake that quite decently, but again, you will be practicing with that thing for months till you're good. So don't get one right before the vacation, and even then, you'd have to set aside some time to practice with it. So it's definitely not something that you buy and then everything is good.
I am buying your book though, because it's not out yet. It comes out August 15th.
No, it's not.
Will not be in time for my trip. Oh yeah, it will. Okay, I'm ordering it now. Pre-order now.
Do they already have the digital version out?
Maybe because they already have it, right?
Kindle version. Might be able to get that. Yeah.
Is it as good though? I love the images.
Oh, the wide angle book has a ton of photography in it, lots of explanations. It's pretty much everything
you can buy the Kindle one now.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything about wide angle photography, from the creative side to the technical side to includes a chapter on tilt shift, because that is closely linked with wide angle photography. And even if you're not a tilt shift photographer, that is going to at least give you an insight on why people love those and why I think they're important. They're so important that Canon has just recently released 3 new tilt shift lenses.
I was looking at the Schneider.
Oh, no, yeah, $5,000.
Super Angulon 50 millimeter. So what focal length should you get? Because I see there's a variety of focal lengths.
It depends on. I mean, the 24 is probably the most versatile.
Get a wide angle.
24 millimeters. That's why the Rokinon, the cheaper Rokinon for $700 is available at 24 millimeters. If you're more into
5,000. Jeez, Louise.
Yeah, don't. That's absolutely,
don't
absolutely
worry.
not
You're
necessary.
Safe. No. I wonder if they have the Rokinon on B&H.
The Rokinon. When I was in New York a few weeks ago, I went by B&H.
That's not bad.
B&H has a used department. KEH.com is a good used dealer.
Used would be the right thing to do.
All my tilt shift lenses are used lenses. Yeah. I wouldn't spend $2,500 for one. No. But then, on the other hand, if my 24 millimeter was stolen, I would buy it again. You
use it. You like it.
I use this. It's my always on lens. I'm weird, but it's my always with me lens.
Your tilt shift is?
Yes, it is.
Interesting. So you really like that.
The workshop that I held in New York was about tilt shift photography only,
But
and
you're not doing
mainly
stuff
about-
like this. You're not doing the toy stuff.
Oh, we did that in the workshop too. But it's just one aspect out of maybe 10 different aspects you have with the tilt
Well,
shift.
I pre-ordered the book. I shall read all about it.
Good.
Yes.
And then we'll talk again.
So, you're so bad for me, but you're good for me because this is I'm going to take this on my trip. This is it. 50 millimeter manual focus f2. That's it.
And keep your hands to yourself when it comes to lenses.
And then
okay?
Lisa can have
Someone
the
else.
A9 with all the lenses.
Different mount, no adapters.
This is it, right there.
This is it.
That's all. Well, the nice thing is it's light. It's not.
You'll curse me. You'll curse me when you're there. You will.
I could have a great picture, but I can't take it close enough to it.
Well,
No,
it's still one of the best exercises you can do.
It's going to be good, and I've been carrying it around to get ready. All right, Chris.
Good.
See ya.
All right. Talk to you again next week.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. We go back to the phones, line 3. Our good friend G. Scott from Minnesota. Hi, G. Scott.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
I am well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Up here in northern Minnesota, summer home, and not a bad day in all regards.
I bet it's beautiful right now.
Yeah, we're about 65 and
nice,
partly cloudy.
Nice.
Yeah, nice weather.
Very nice.
So it's graduation time of year, and my granddaughter graduated Friday night and is getting one of my extra. Oh, thank you. Yeah, she's getting one of my extra computers, and I'm just wondering, should I totally wipe the thing? Also, maybe I should kind of retain some ownership because I got remote PC in case she ever needs any help. Or
Yeah, see, that's an interesting question. So normally when you're selling a computer to strangers, absolutely you want to wipe it. Now, people are tempted not to because, well, it's got Windows on there. It's all loaded up with all sorts of nice stuff, applications and so forth. But, what I tell people, when you buy a computer, you should, if it's a used computer, make sure it's thoroughly wiped because you don't want to inherit any problems from the original owner. The nice thing nowadays about Windows 10 computers, once you've upgraded to Windows 10, it's if you feel like you're being generous, you could put Windows 10 on there and get it all set up for her. But she can also download it and install it. She doesn't need a serial number. Once a machine is authorized with Windows 10 on it, it will be able to run Windows 10 forever and a day. So
right, this is just a year-old computer, and basically
it's nice.
Kind of been an extra monitor for me. I network it when I'm working on my main computer.
So you're grandpa. So this is a little bit of a different situation. The law, of course, says that you shouldn't make copies of software, shouldn't give away copies of software. So people are always tempted. Oh, I got Photoshop on here, and we'll just let her use it. That's one of the reasons, by the way, you can no longer really buy software outright. You have to subscribe to it because they can limit the number of installs. That kind of eliminates this whole problem of giving away software. I think as grandpa, it depends on how much you want to be in her life and how much she wants you in her life. I love the idea of setting it all up just so for her with the apps she might want to use and keeping remote PC on there. So if she has problems, you can log into it. I think that's a nice way to do it. I wouldn't do it for a stranger. And if a stranger, or you're listening and you're buying a computer from a stranger, I would say immediately, don't be tempted by all that software on there, but fully erase the drive and reinstall because you don't want to inherit any malware or weirdness or remote access Trojans. But this is different. You're relatives, and I think that's a very generous gift.
And it is fairly stock. Like I say, I kind of get crazy with buying computers.
You wouldn't want my old computer with all the stuff I installed on it,
right?
But if you haven't really messed with it too much, it's basically Windows 10 and maybe a few simple apps. In fact, that would be what I would do: is think about what she would want on there. Here's an interesting idea. Nowadays Microsoft Office you have to subscribe to. But you can get LibreOffice, the open source Office, which is, I think, very capable, for free. And that might be a good thing she might not even know about. Put that on there. And she's equipped with, for free, a full Office suite. Is she going on to college?
Yeah.
So this would be a great thing for her to have. And that would be doing her a favor.
To keep my Office 365 on there. I've got 5.
Well, you get 5 installs, and if you, that's what I do. My wife, I have 5 installs. I don't have 5 computers, so my wife has one of my installs, and that's legal and legit. So if you have an install to spare, put Office on there. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was getting ready to format the thing and do I'm a hoarder, so usually I don't give these away, but this is a special circumstance, and so I've kind of heard you talking about, like you're saying, if it's a stranger or you're buying a computer, but
that's a nice gift.
I
think it's. It's very sweet of you.
Bad asking. It's a i7, 16 gigs. She's going to definitely have.
Oh, that's
nice. It's like I say, it's not a hand me down. It's a spare. So well, good. I think that you kind of sent me the right direction once again.
Good. Always a pleasure to talk to you, G. Scott.
You too, Leo. Yeah. See you next summer.
Have a great day. Summer in Minnesota is beautiful. Just don't be there in the winter, right? That's the summer house. You want to go there for the summertime. I think that's a very thoughtful and nice gift. And I know a lot of people now, and a lot of kids, this was the week that a lot of kids graduated from high school, and now their thoughts turn to the fall. And if they're going on, it's a great thing to do to equip a kid on his or her way to college with a new system. And if you do it right, I think it's a system that'll last them 4 years. And frankly, if you think about it, nowadays, it used to be you go off to college. When I went off to college, you get a typewriter, maybe a TV, maybe a stereo. Now, a good laptop is everything. It becomes their home entertainment unit. They can watch Netflix on there. They can plug in speakers and listen to music on it. It's everything. It's all they need. Don't bring a printer to college. Usually you can access a printer at the library or over the network. A lot of schools have printers on each dorm room floor that you can print to over the network. So that's probably not necessary. So a good laptop, that's a good thing, I think, for a kid going off to school in the fall. Now's the time to start thinking about it. On we go to line 4. That would be Gary in Buffalo, New York. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Leo. Thinking of doing something might be a disaster.
I'd like to assist.
Talk me out of it. I'm looking at this program that allows me to share files with friends and colleagues on a one-time basis. You tell them this is where the file's located on my computer. You can log in and download it, or they can upload a file to me to get around the limitations on emailing stuff. I got to open some ports to do it.
Don't do it.
How dangerous? Stop. Don't do it. Stop right there.
Stop right there. What's the name of the program you want to use?
One AV Share.
Okay, I'm going to give you better ones that don't require you to open any ports, that are secure, and really do a great job. The first one, it used to be called BitTorrent Sync, and a company called Resilio. Actually, I think BitTorrent created a company called Resilio, and now it's called Resilio Sync. But it's the same product. They have a free version. They have a paid version. You'll put it on your computer. You don't have to open any ports. And then you can send a code. Anytime you want to share a file, you can send a code, or you can share folders. They can update your folder on your machine. You can update on theirs. It's completely secure, sandboxed, so they don't have access to the rest of your machine. You have absolute control of it. There are a lot more commercial choices like this, Dropbox and so forth. But for sharing files from your hard drive to other people, I think Resilio Sync is absolutely the best. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Actually, there are probably many, many more choices than just Resilio Sync, but it's one that I kind of like. So this is something you're going to do on an ongoing basis?
I probably got to share files with people once or twice a week.
Oh, that's a lot. So, a lot of people use commercial third-party services where it's on the cloud. And the reason you would do that is, what if you shut off your computer? Then the guy can't get the file, right? So if you put it on Dropbox, as an example, or Microsoft's OneDrive or Google Drive or any, there's tons of these, then it's there all the time and they can get it whenever they want it. If you...
Yeah, I have some...
Go ahead.
I have some clients, though, they're like, they don't want to deal with Google. They're afraid of Dropbox. They have all these
But they trust you.
Yeah, well, they trust me.
See, that's what cracks me up, right? Oh, I'll get it from you, no problem. Are these documents that you want to keep super private?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be an argument not to use one of the commercial services in almost every case, even though it's private. Only you know the access code and all that. In theory, the companies could look at it. Apple, Google, Dropbox, Microsoft, all of them have the capability of looking at these files and providing these files to law enforcement if there were a subpoena, that kind of thing. So if you really want to keep it private, then there are other ways to do it. There's another thing. Let me think about other ways to do that. I think Resilio Sync is actually going to be one of the best things, but you do have to leave that computer on. You understand that, right?
Well, yeah, but it's the kind of thing where they look, go download this today, and then I'm taking it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing is you completely control it. No one else has access to it. They have to have, for Resilio Sync, you give them like a 24-digit number that they use to get it. So I would look at Resilio Sync. I think it's $60 one time to own it. I think they have a free version as well, and you could take a look at it and see. The way this works is it's fully encrypted, both in place and in transit. You can share a folder or you can share a file. You can actually have a shared folder that you synchronize between both of your computers. So there's lots of flexibility. It has a one-time send, which is what you would use. And you're absolutely right. You do not want to send this through the email. That's the single worst way to do it.
Now, I'm looking at it online. It says the home it gives a description of the home, but then on the Pro Family, it says up to 5 family members. Does that mean I can only share with 5 people?
No. The way this works... So that's the one drawback to this, is your client would also have to have a copy of Resilio Sync, but he could use the free version. It has to be running on his system, and so that's why they have this family plan, is you buy 5 copies for each computer. Right. But that's for as a client, just use the free version and you can download it. I would at least take a look at this. It's fully secure. I use it for backup. I'll put it on a computer and then have it synchronized with another system off-site, and that way I do it for my Minecraft servers so that those files, the Minecraft files, are saved forever. And I think it works quite well. It used to be completely free. I don't know. It's a shame that they've decided to monetize it, but there is still a free tier. And the other nice thing about it, it's Mac, Windows, it's even Linux, iOS, and Android. So, they'll be able to get that file no matter what they're running.
Would it be smart for me to take an old computer and put it on Linux and use that on my network as the share?
I don't think you need to.
No? All right.
I would just have a folder. Actually, there's a coupon code, Resilio Spring 55, that gets you 55% off. So now's the time to do it. Somebody in the chat room just passed that along. Resilio Spring 55. So that means at $55 for the family plan, for the single user plan, $32, $33, actually $27. Wow, that's nice. So you can buy the thing forever for $27.
Yeah, I'd probably do the family plan and get my kids on here for the few files we transfer back and forth.
Actually, a great thing to do with the family, yeah. Really great. Now, and then there's you should try it first just to see the mechanism. But what you do basically is you get a number that you'll enter into the Resilio interface. They'll give you a number, and then you can email that number or text that number, and they put it in their interface, and then they can get the file.
Oh, good. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Take care.
Thanks.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, and all that jazz. 8888-ASK. Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Anywhere from the U.S. or Canada. Outside those areas, you can still call. Just use Skype out something like that to do that. I'd love to, if we have a website, techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com, and that's free. Everything we say on the show, all the links, like if you wanted to find that Resilio link program, Resilio Sync program, it would be there as well. You can go to techguylabs.com, and we have a comment section. And that's nice because I bet you, I'm just gathering from the chat room and all the different ways they're talking about sharing these files. You might have another way that our last caller could share files with people, family and friends, just at kind of an ad hoc basis. Like, I have a file for you. Here's the link. I like this Resilio Sync, but there are other ways to do it. There's certainly commercial programs that can do it. If you don't want to use Google or Microsoft or Dropbox, the big file sharing services, there's Share. What is it called? It was from Citrix. They were a sponsor for a long time, and I used it all the time. Now I've forgotten the name. Share File, I think Share File, that was it. That's actually a really secure way to do it. It's HIPAA compliant. A lot of lawyers and doctors use it. And it has the advantage of not requiring you to keep your computer on all the time. But if you're one of those people that you just want control of it, keeping it local is probably the best way to do that. So there are lots of ways. And my point being, if you've got a way that you'd like to do it, all you got to do is go to the website, techguylabs.com, and comment. We divide the page is divided into shows. Each show has its own page. Each page has its the hour by hour of the show, 1, 2, and 3. And then within the hour, we divide it up into callers. So you can drill down right to that caller and leave the comment there. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Back to the phones we go with line 2, Lee, Panama City, Florida. Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh, I was wondering how long it was going to take.
I know. Sometimes it takes a long time, and I apologize, but I'm glad you got through.
Yeah, no problem. I was wondering, on an earlier show, you talked about domain names and ownership of it.
Yeah.
I have one that I've been paying GoDaddy to register it.
Yep.
For years now.
Yep.
What makes the determination that I own it? Do I have to pay somebody and register it?
If you go to you can't do it yourself. Okay. So if you remember the conversation we had some shows ago, all of this is organized by something called ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. In the early days, it was done by IANA, and it was a professor at the University of Southern California, John Postel, who was a great guy. He did it all by himself in the early days of the Internet. You would send a note to John, you'd email John, and he'd say, okay, I got it. And he maintained the phone books, because this really is just a phone book that attach a site name like yahoo.com to the actual IP address of the server, the 192.161.1.1. That lookup is called DNS. ICANN, it's a non-governmental. It used to be that the U.S. Commerce Department kind of funded it and ran it, but they gave that up a couple of years ago. It is non-governmental. There's a board of directors from all over the world. It's really actually an amazing system, much like the Internet itself. They maintain 13 what they call canonical DNS servers, the big main phone books. If you want to be found on the Internet, your domain name has to be in that big phone book. And then it's passed down from those servers to all the other servers across the world, your internet service provider, whatever DNS server you use. But you have to be in that book. And the only way to get in that big book is by going to a registrar, a company that's been approved by ICANN for maintaining that. GoDaddy's the biggest and best known, but there's lots of them. And you'll know you own it because you pay GoDaddy for it. They do funny things. I'm not a fan of GoDaddy. They'll lock it at a moment's notice. They'll make it hard for you to transfer it away. But ultimately, you might have to kind of go through some hoops. But ultimately, the other way you know you own it is you can transfer it to another registrar. You can take it with you and go somewhere else. GoDaddy has a mechanism for that. Every registrar has to. So if you say, well, I'm done with GoDaddy, you want to go to our sponsor, hover.com, There's a way to do that, a mechanism for doing that, and you get it transferred over. And now when you want to, when you have to pay for the renewal, it goes to a different company, it goes to Hover. When you want to change the settings, you go to Hover's site and do it there. It's yours. You pay for it.
When you go to transfer it, you basically cancel you transfer it and the GoDaddy account just goes away, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you always have a GoDaddy account, but in the account, you won't have that domain anymore.
I got you.
I still have a GoDaddy account, but I don't think I have any domains left in there. Technically, owning is an interesting word, because if you stop paying the registry fee, it will revert and somebody else can use it and buy it. So I guess you aren't really owning it, you're leasing it. You're renting it.
Right.
I don't know what the technical term is.
Okay. Now, if I ever do go to use it, actually use it and make a web page or a website, what would be the easiest and best way to do that for somebody who basically knows nothing about building web pages?
So first thing you've got to find, you already have the domain name. The other thing you have to do is find a web host, a web hosting service. All a web server is a computer with some specialized software on it that is on a public internet address. In other words, that people can go to that address and request the page. You could technically run it yourself out of your house. I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of different reasons, but you could. So what normally people do is, instead of running it out of their houses, they go to a web hosting company and they pay a fee. The hosting company has computers and a network operations center. They're, air conditioned. They have a lot of internet connectivity. That's one reason you don't want to do it yourself. You don't have enough really upstream bandwidth to do it for any decent amount of traffic. But you put it on one of these servers. You pay a monthly fee. Once you've got that set up, and you could go. Blogger is from Google. It's free. That's one. There's Squarespace. There's our sponsor, my preference, that's where my website is, WordPress.com. But there's lots of these. That some give you more service than others. The ones I've mentioned have site building software, so you can create your site. Makes it easy. You don't have to know anything. Some people, though, want to do it themselves. Yeah. Yeah, you can start, Blogger's free and easy, but I'm personally a fan of WordPress.com. It's not very expensive. Once you set your site up, we'll use WordPress as an example. Once I go to WordPress and set up an account, now my site's address is leolaporte.wordpress.com. But I want it to be leolaporte.com. So I go to a registrar, I set up leolaporte.com, and then I do some settings at wordpress.com or at the registrar, and there's instructions on both sites to connect the two, so that when people go to the phone book, the big phone book in the sky, and they look at leolaporte.com, it refers them to the server at wordpress.com where my stuff is. So
it's rerouting it to...
Yeah, it's rerouting it. So it's kind of a three-part, it's a triangle. You've got your hosting company, which maintains that domain name. That, by the way, could be the same company as the website host. It doesn't have to be a different company. Yeah. But in your case, it's GoDaddy. Yep. And then you have the big server in the sky.
One place?
No. Doesn't matter.
Not necessarily?
In some ways, it's better to have it in two different places in case one goes down. Okay. That's how Leo Laporte is registered. I have it registered at hover.com. The site is at wordpress.com. I continue to pay both companies for the right to have a website. That's kind of how it works. It's not expensive. I think the WordPress.com is like $4 a month if you buy a year, and typically a domain name depends on the domain name. It's typically around $10 to $15 a year, so it's not a horribly expensive thing to do. I do recommend, frankly, and this might seem odd, I think everybody should have a domain name that is essentially your name, and I do that. I recommend that for email at least. So that, because when you set up a domain name, one of the things you can set up is that any email that comes to that domain name goes to Gmail or whoever you want to use for your email. That way, you control your email address. And if you decide to move to a different company, you don't have to tell everybody, oh, I've got a new address. You keep it. So if you send email, for instance, to leo@leolaporte.com, it'll go to me. It's actually stored at a different company because it goes first to Hover. Hover says, oh, no, you send the mail over here, and that's where it ends up. Or actually, I think it goes to WordPress, And then you send the mail over here, and that's where it ends up. So everybody should at least have that. And then someday, if you want a website or something else that is under your name that you control, and I think that's another thing people should consider, especially young people, so that when people search for your name, you control what they see a little bit better, right? This is a great thing. When my kids were born, I got their domain names. I knew they wouldn't want them for years, but I registered them for 20 years. And the idea being, when they need it, when they want it, they'll have it. Nobody else will have it. They'll have their names. That's a good thing to do. I didn't have my name for a long time. I had to buy it from somebody. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Our show today brought to you by LastPass. Everything I do is brought to you by LastPass. You saw I got a new phone device. What's the first program I install on any computer? LastPass. Why? Because it helps me install all the rest of them. LastPass fills in the passwords. It remembers them so I don't have to. There's a good advantage to that. It means that I can have long, strong, difficult to crack passwords because I don't have to remember them. A password you can remember is kind of a bad password, okay? It really is. In fact, most people, because they don't want to remember lots of passwords or lots of websites, use the same password over and over. That's a terrible idea. That means if any one of those sites gets cracked, like Twitter did, then all of those passwords are bad. You got to reuse all of them. Plus, typically, the passwords people use over and over again are things like their birth date and their kid's name or their dog's name. They're things that are easy for bad guys to crack. You need long, strong, random passwords. LastPass generates them for you and keeps track of them for you so you don't have to. And LastPass is so secure. I actually store everything in LastPass, including my passport, driver's license, social security numbers. That's where I put the stuff that I want to keep safe. LastPass is fully encrypted. No one has access to it except me. It's just awesome. In fact, it's so good. You know, we had a problem here at work. We had an engineer who decided he couldn't remember all the passwords for our servers and, you know, all that stuff. So he created a website with all the logins and passwords on it, a public website. He doesn't work for us anymore. And that's when we started using LastPass Enterprise. Every single key piece of data that we store in this business, all those logins, all those passwords is in our LastPass Enterprise account. We can assign different levels of access, so only the people who need those passwords can get them. In fact, I like it so much. One of the benefits of working here is every one of our employees gets a free LastPass account too, because I believe in it so much. I think it's so important that you use LastPass. It's the last password manager you ever need. It's the best password manager ever created. 81% of breaches are caused by weak passwords. Don't do it. We have LastPass Enterprise here, but there's also LastPass Teams for small teams of 50 or less. There's LastPass Premium for personal use. LastPass Families for families is great. Everybody in your family has LastPass, and it makes it easy to share passwords that other family members need access to. What's the Wi-Fi password? It's in LastPass. Saves you a lot of time. There's only one password you have to remember. That's the password to unlock your password vault. Make that one long, strong. Spend some time memorizing that one. But you'll never have to memorize another password again. And you'll always be using strong passwords. I love passwords in LastPass. Actually, I hate passwords, but I do love LastPass. At work, at home, fix your password woes with the #1 most preferred password manager. I use it. Everyone in our company uses it. Our company uses it. Steve Gibson said it works. He gave it his seal of approval. LastPass.com/twit. Check out the product that's right for you. I love LastPass. And if you're not using it, why not? LastPass, why not? LastPass.com/twit. You'll thank me later, I promise. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. And back to the phones we go. Let's see here. Line 1. And that's Tom in Burbank. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll get to the point here. I recently made a little movie. I cut it in iMovie,
yes.
And the latest version. And as I was exporting it, the friend of mine next to me told me that it only exports .mov, whereas in previous versions it was MP. You had a choice of MP4 or .mov.
Yeah.
And well, I'm just telling you everything here. But anyway, I'm trying to make burn some CDs that not just play on a computer, but if I give it to my grandmother.
You want a DVD, not a CD, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
When I try to burn a DVD that will play.
Yeah. So let me explain what's going on here. So MOV is actually MP4 in many cases. They're the same. Okay. MOV is a wrapper. So it's very confusing. You see also from Windows Media Player, you'll see WMV, Windows Media Player Video. Those are wrappers. Inside the file can be a compressed video file of a variety of different types. Typically, actually, it is in fact MP4 these days. So you can turn an MOV into an MP4 easily without any re-encoding involved. But that doesn't help you, because a DVD that's not a data disc, but an actual DVD, playable DVD and a DVD player, there's a very specific format for it, because DVD players are not very bright. They're computers, but not the brightest. And they only can play a very specific formula back. They don't understand MOV, AVI, or any of that stuff. They only understand a specific format, and that includes you've seen if you look at a DVD, the VOB files, the VTS files, the menu structure, all of that stuff is very specifically defined. And so in order to get a playable DVD out of iMovie, used to be iMovie, by the way, had this built in. Do they not have export to DVD anymore? I think they stripped it down.
Yeah, I got the feeling that the latter is correct.
So you need a program that is a DVD burning program that will take a file, and usually these DVD burning programs will take files in a huge variety of formats, including MOV, of course, because MOV is like the default formula for Mac. And what they're going to end up doing is re-encoding it, because it turns out a DVD, the video has to be encoded as an MPEG-2 file. None of the above. It has a very specific format, and the audio has to be encoded in a very specific way, and then they have to be formatted in a certain way. They're multiplexed together or muxed together into a single file, and then the file folder structure has to be very specific. So you need DVD burning software that knows all of that. Will take your existing video files, and by the way, you could also have, if you want, you know how a DVD, you put it in, it has a menu and it has a play button and extras. You can have all of that structure is available too, and a good DVD burner will do all of that. So it really depends. There's free ones. It depends on how much you want to spend, how good you want to make it. You know, there's Easy Media Creator. There's something called Wondershare. You can search around and see these. Typically, they'll be under $100. There are, as I said, free ones on SourceForge that cost you nothing. Yeah. Burn is a very popular free one, B-U-R-N.
Yeah, you know, I tried that, and I couldn't make it work in my Maybe I got a very...
well, that's the problem with these open source programs, is they're not polished. At all. And so they're sometimes hard to use. Nero, Toast, DVD Fab, these are all, I mean, I give you a list longer than my arm.
I know. I already I threw away $10 on the App Store. The one I got, I suppose I shouldn't mention names over.
No, you can mention names. No, that's the whole point of this show.
I got it's called Me DVD, MI-DVD.
Yeah.
And it's very pretty and very easy to work with. It doesn't produce the end result.
Oh, that's too bad. So, it shouldn't be on the App Store if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. That's right. Very disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, and as a matter of fact, a friend of mine burnt me on something on Toast that was it's a version that's several years old. He burned it and it played fine on his Blu-ray player. But when I got home, it wouldn't play on my player.
Okay.
So
that may also have to do with the disc that you burn it onto, because the recordable DVDs sometimes have compatibility issues with other players. So if so there's a couple
negative R.
Yeah, there's a couple of there are a couple of issues in doing this. Nobody does it anymore, by the way. The only excuse, the only reason to do it is exactly the one you specified. You have an older relative who has to have it so she can put it on her DVD player. That's really because everybody else, we just do files now, right? We just exchange files. So Cyberlink makes very good ones. You know, it's got to be UDF form. It's complicated, but a good program will handle that all for you. For $100, you can get a video editor that also burns. I'm mad at Apple. They took the burning out, which is, you know, typical Apple, because they don't put DVD burners in their computers anymore, I guess. But there are great programs out there, and Premiere Elements for $100 edits and burns. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's not the codec. That's what the MPEG-4 is, a codec. It's going to have to be re-encoded anyway. You can't play MPEG-4s back on grandma's DVD player.
Okay.
It has to be in that specific format for DVDs. And in theory, all these programs should understand it. I'm looking at my DVD Pro. I don't know why it didn't work. It looks like it does all the things, and it's in the store, which means Apple presumably vetted it. What happened when you used it?
Well, I just, wouldn't read, and I know that my player has been finicky before, but a couple of other friends of mine have have given me homemade stuff, and they play fine. So
that may be the blanks. So that really may be the blanks that you're using.
Really, the stock itself, huh?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If I bought negative R's from Staples, maybe that's the issue? Or,
yeah, could be.
Oh, okay.
Could be.
All right. Well, and then you mentioned two items earlier, about maybe 5 minutes ago, that you said Wonder or...
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Wondershare is one, but there are lots of them, and that's the problem. And we're going to put them all in the show notes at techguylabs.com.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So there'll be a whole bunch you can choose from. The free stuff, you Burn, Liquid CD, Burn X, Simply Burns, Express Burn, Disc Burner for Mac, Bombono DVD. Those are the free ones, and then there are plenty of commercial ones as well. Cyberlink makes good stuff.
Okay.
Easy CD Creator is kind of the definitive. But it's kind of overkill because you're not going to be doing this a lot. You're really just doing this for one person, I think, right?
Right. It's a couple of people made a small film in school, and, I fed my cast, and I want to give them a copy of their work.
Yeah.
So, it's just I don't want to give them a thumb. I gave one guy a thumb because he's a geek, and he was cool with it.
Go to easydvdcreator.net. You can download this for free, and just try the free version and see if it'll do what you want.
Oh, great. Okay. And this is in the show notes, right?
Yeah, we put this all in the show notes.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that, sir.
My pleasure.
That's great. Okay. Well, I don't want to take any other time off your program. So anyway, appreciate your show, and you have a great day.
My pleasure. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. And on we go with the show to line 3. And that's Mark in Escondido, California. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Leo. Let me get off speaker.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got an issue. I've got a HP laptop that I only use for backup. But
you back up to a laptop?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, it's only, like if I get some thing that I need to really look up and I can't get out of the desktop, I go to the laptop. Like one time I got malware.
Oh, I see. It's not a backup like backup of your files. It's backup in case you can't use your computer. I get
it.
I get it.
I still have internet access.
It's your plan B. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a great little computer, but the problem is that the internal speakers don't work.
Yeah.
Now, I've tried the pin plug. I've tried all the settings. I've done everything else. And the funny thing is, if I put in USB headphones, I hear sound.
Okay.
So do I need a new sound card or?
No, because the headphones work. So that means your driver is working and the hardware is working. Usually a sound card on laptops these days isn't really a sound card. That you're dating yourself when you say sound card. I haven't seen a sound card in years. They're almost always built into the motherboard because it's just a simple chip, and it's built into the motherboard. So replacing the sound card on a laptop would be challenging,
prohibitive,
maybe well nigh impossible. So you hope that the hardware is still working, and the fact that you can use headphones means it is.
But I can't use the headphones in the pin plug. It has to be.
You've narrowed it down. This is good. This is how troubleshooting works. We eliminate all the causes until we are left with one. So the first thing to test is Bluetooth worked. Okay, well, my sound is generating. Plug in headphones into that jack. Oh, they don't work, nor did the speakers work. So clearly it's a connection problem. The jack itself might be broken. And these are hard to fix in laptops. If you felt kind of handy, you could attempt to disassemble the laptop. I'd go look at some YouTube videos before you attempt it. But if it's easy enough to remove, and often with laptops, there's just some screws in the bottom. You open it up, and you could see the wires leading to the headphone jack. You might see that, well, they've been disconnected. And if you're handy with a soldering iron, you could reconnect them.
Sure, but would that affect the internal speakers, too?
Oh, yeah, you said the speakers don't work. You meant the internal speaker. Oh, let's see. Well, no, not necessarily. Then that means most likely that the connector that leads to the headphone jack and the speakers, and I bet you there's some sort of unified harness, that may have just fallen off the motherboard. It might be something you could just open up and say, oh, yeah, here's a little tail sticking off, plug it back in, and it would work. It does sound like there's something physically wrong with the computer as opposed to the sound chip, because you can hear sound, or the device driver, because you can hear it. You might check before you open it up and do all of this. I hope you've done this. Maybe you haven't. Go into the mixer software and make sure that all that's enabled.
Go into the what software?
Oh, yeah, maybe you didn't do it. So it's Windows, right?
Right, Windows 7.
Yeah. So if down in the lower right-hand corner, we call it the system tray, there are a lot of little tiny icons. One of them is a speaker icon.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, if you right-click on that, you'll see that you can open the volume mixer and the sound or sound settings. I would open the volume mixer, and first of all, make sure that the speakers are connected, that, software-wise, that the mixer is actually sending sound to this. You can play with the sound.
Right.
Sometimes that's just disabled.
Sure. So the device speakers work and the application speakers are both on.
They're both on, and your output device is the speaker and all of that. There is a troubleshooter in the Microsoft control panel. You might want to run through that.
Okay.
So just before you assume that there's some physical hardware malady, which it sounds like there is, but that's more complicated to fix than the easy thing, which is just to make sure all the settings are right.
So it might have been dropped, and there's just a connection that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been more than kind. The guy that was calling about the DVDs that had the problem.
Yeah.
I use a program called Convert X to DVD.
Ah, I like the name.
And this thing is slick as it gets. You want to get version 4.
Okay.
And I had his same problem, and it goes through it, and what it does, it converts everything.
Nice.
And because I couldn't play any of my DVDs, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it was.
Sweet. Thank you for the tip.
All right.
Convert X DVD. We'll add that to the show notes too. Yeah. Convert X DVD. On we go. Let's see. Line 2. Luke, Jackson, Mississippi. Hi, Luke.
Oh, how you doing, Leo?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine. I just have a question. I was listening to your show a few weeks ago about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And you mentioned something about Amazon and doing some kind of breakthrough that was on a Tuesday, and you was going to get back with people on it. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, my. Now you're putting me on the spot. I don't. Amazon. Oh, I think, was it Amazon or Google? It was Amazon, huh?
Amazon, yes. And
Well, I apologize for not keeping my promise. Chat room, do you remember what I said I was going to tell everybody about? Because I don't. They're my brain, though. You know, one of the things that's great about having 500 people sitting in a chat room listening all the time is they can keep me honest.
Well, what it is about a system being developed through Amazon and another company called Electronic Caregivers on a new system called Addison. And it's supposed to be for the elderly where they can just stay at home and be able to get treatments at home by communication with the hospital or the doctor's office, and be able to do a lot of things that's coming up in the future on it, they said. But I didn't know if you had heard anything about that or not.
I have not. That sounds very intriguing. You know, Amazon has already announced a number of initiatives. They want to provide health insurance for their employees, and they've actually partnered with Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, and I think J.P. Morgan, to create a health insurance company. It's interesting. Amazon has big plans. I don't remember talking about this. Tell me how you spell it. Addison, is it?
Addison.
Addison from Amazon.
Through Electronic Caregivers.
All right. I will look into that. I don't know anything about it. That's new to me, but if I can find something for you, I'll check it out. The McMahon in the chat room says, well, if we're Leo's brain, who's controlling the legs? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I will have to look into that. Amazon has great ambitions. You know that. We know that. Jeff Bezos, effectively, I think, his plan is to scrape a few cents out of every financial transaction that happens on the planet. And he's getting close to that goal. You know, just everything goes through Amazon. It started with books, because that was easy. That was low-hanging fruit. Now you can buy almost anything at Amazon. And in fact, you can buy stuff from other people through Amazon, can't you? That's Amazon sometimes does the fulfillment, sometimes just handles the transaction. They're into all sorts of other things, the Echo, face recognition. They sell face recognition software to the government. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're working on healthcare, so I'll have to look into this Addison. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Last segment of the day. Let's get a couple more calls in before I go. Starting with Luke, Jackson, Mississippi. Nope, I talked to Luke. How about Mike, Murrieta, California? Hi, Mike.
Hello, Leo. Thank you for taking my call, man.
My pleasure.
Very, very. This is a relief to talk to you. I'm surprised my phone call actually got through to the station because there's been some strange interference and things going on. And that's not really what I'm asking you about. But what I've had happen to me kind of coincided with the wrongful termination deal that happened with me at my former company.
Okay.
And I've been having a lot of things happening. I've noticed there's access users into my laptop, my desktop, and my smartphone. All of a sudden, I never had these happen before, but I started to notice. In fact, one day I was in a little bit of a struggle with my mouse, and that's what tipped me off that somebody's been kind of inside my computer.
Now, is this laptop, was it a company laptop or it's your own personal?
No. It's my own person. It actually had been down for a while, and I just had it.
Has anybody had physical access to the laptop besides you?
No. As far as I know. I mean, on my laptop, it's a Lenovo desktop. It's an Acer laptop.
It's happening to both your computers?
Both. They're both accessed.
Okay.
In fact, I can still go on my home computer, look into properties and all that stuff, and I can find this access user. I can't get him out.
Wait a minute. You can actually see the user in your account logged in?
I can see that. Most times I go in there, I can see there's an access user, and they usually they'll take an ad, kind of a spin-off of my name.
Interesting.
And they've got authority over me.
Interesting.
And I don't know who to call. I tried calling people.
The police aren't going to help you. I mean, first of all, we don't know who this is. It could be somebody who's targeting you.
It is because they're gang stalking me also.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying
then
to
you do
find
have
out.
to. Then you do. If you believe somebody's doing that, then you do need to contact the police. I can help you with the technology, but I can't help you with somebody stalking you. So you do need to contact the police, the local police, and get their help in this. But I'll tell you from a technological point of view, because that's the only thing I cover, What you got to do is wipe those computers completely. So for somebody to get something like that on your system, and it's completely possible, generally the easiest way, and this is why I asked if anybody had access to your house or your property, the easiest way for them to do that, and the most difficult for you to get rid of, would be if they were to get in there. They can do things like modify the keyboard. There's all sorts of things they can do. Remotely, what they can do to target you is send you email with malware links, things like that. The things that happen all the time to everybody. You know, this is why we always say don't open attachments, don't click links from strangers. If somebody on Facebook sends you a link saying, oh, you won't believe what you did last night, here's the video, and you click that link and it says, oh, you can't play the video because you don't have the latest Flash, and you go, well, that happens all the time. And you say, and it says, but don't worry, here's Flash, install this. It's not Flash. They just tricked you into installing something on your computer. Now, once you've installed something on your computer, all bets are off. And if somebody is targeting you specifically, they can put things like remote access Trojans that give them full access to your system. And that may be what they've done. How do you get rid of it? Well, first, I guess I would call the police and just tell them the whole story, because they may want to take your computers as evidence. You know, somebody with forensic skills can look at that and perhaps get more information about who this person is. So don't wipe it yet. But remember, if you do that, the police may come and get your hardware and take it. The other thing, if you do think this is happening, but you don't think somebody's stalking, you don't think it's, you know, if you think it's just you've got malware in your system, the best way to get rid of it is not to try to remove malware. That's a fool's errand. A lot of people do that. Oh, I can get rid of it. I'll just run malware bytes and it's all gone. No, that's a fool's errand, because no program can safely and surely get rid of everything. You don't know what's on there. If there's one thing, there may be other things. Some of those things may be more hidden. Some of those things, you know, and the worst thing to do is say run a program or do brain surgery, say, oh, I got rid of the malware. People do this all the time. They bring it into the shop and the shop guy goes, well, I got rid of the malware. And you go home and it's still on there. You just don't know it. Well, that's not a solution. What you really have to do, and I hate to say it, is wipe the hard drive and reinstall. You know, back up your data. It's okay. It's safe to back up data. Don't back up programs, though. Those aren't safe. Back up your data, format the hard drive, reinstall Windows, reinstall your programs from known good sources, restore your data, and then from now on, don't open email attachments, don't click links from strangers, don't accept files from strangers ever. If you didn't go out and specifically ask that file, don't install it. And in fact, I would say install as few files, a few programs as you possibly can get away with. Every program you install opens a new avenue for attack. From now on, keep your system up to date, and any programs you're running, keep them up to date. That's really important these days. Updates are your first line of defense against malware. And then the second line of defense is you being careful, cynical, practicing safe computing. But again, I would urge you, if you think you're being stalked, if you think there's somebody going after you, contact the police and let them handle it. And you might want to do that before you wipe your drives. If you aren't doing that, or they aren't helpful, then you do have to wipe the drives and get whatever malware is on there. There are ways, if somebody has physical access to your machine, that they can put stuff on there you can't wipe out. That's why I asked that question. That's pretty sophisticated. That's NSA level. That's not something that the average Joe down the street can do. So I guess I should have asked this, if the person targeting you is an adept hacker with mad skills, oh, now you're in trouble. Don't get hackers angry. That's a bad idea. Line 1, Barb, Rancho Mirage, California. Hi, Barb.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, listen, I went ahead and took your advice and bought a Chromebook.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And it's a 14-inch.
Yeah.
And I'm not real happy with the screen.
It's too small for you.
Well, not only that, I'm wondering, after I bought it, of course, I go back in and there's HD versus LED.
Yeah, well, this is let me, in a kind of nutshell, explain the issue. When you get a computer for cheap, how much did you pay?
Like 300.
Yeah, that's cheap. One of the ways that they cut prices is putting a lower quality screen on it. So you really, for instance, if I have, this is $1,000, I'm holding up, you can't see it. I'm holding up $1,000 Chromebook. It's a Google Chromebook. Now for that price, this darn well better be a good screen, and it is. Okay. But you really have to be careful when you choose a Chromebook. If there are going to be some compromises. It's not going to be, for $200, $300. It's not going to be top of the line components. Maybe the keyboard won't be as good, or the trackpad won't be as good, or the screen won't be as good. That's normal. What you need to do is, maybe this is time to bring this back and look for one with a better screen, or they also make Chrome devices that you can plug in a monitor to, a good monitor if you want. And that would be another way to go. There's things called Chrome boxes that are just little computers without a keyboard, mouse, and monitor. You provide the keyboard, mouse, and monitor. Those are still inexpensive, but you can have a nicer quality screen, or a bigger screen if you want. You can have a 27-inch screen if you want. Nicer keyboard, nicer mouse. So that would be one thing to look at, the Chrome boxes. There's also Chrome sticks that go into a TV. There's lots of ways to get better monitors. But you just have to understand, a $300 computer, often the monitor is not going to be state-of-the-art. It's not going to be as good as you'd like.
Okay, so I have to...
I'd go back and look at them before you choose one. The Acer 14-inch has a better monitor. It's a little more expensive, maybe $400 or $500. That would be one to look at. What's good about Chromebooks these days is there's a broad range of quality. You can go from $250 to $1,200 and decide where you want to make sacrifices. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.